Mount Panorama Easter, the sound of motorsport right there for you. That is fantastic. It is a great spot to be any time of the year, but at Easter time, it's just beautiful. The weather is absolutely perfect. We're headed for a top of 26 degrees. In fact, we're pretty close right now. Not a cloud in the sky, and this place just looks immaculate. Brad Hodge and David Reynolds join me, guys. We're in for a great afternoon here on 7 Plus. We've got historics coming up, we've got GTs coming out there, and of course qualifying for the 6 hour, which is going to be an absolute beauty.
Where else would you rather be other than in a car, Dave Reynolds? Easter Saturday, watching some supercars and super drivers roll around this mountain, this special place. It's a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, exactly. This is the one track in the world where you can just have the best time of your life, no matter what you drive or how fast you go. Every time you leave pit lane, it's just an adventure, and you just love it.
Do you know how they say you're always learning up here? Anything you've learned from talking to drivers this morning as you chit-chat up and down the lane? They saying anything about the TCRs? Or
Really tough question, actually. No, obviously the TCR is a very different car, front-wheel drive, which I have not really driven many of. I've only done that one lap at Phillip Island with Jack Perkins as my passenger, which was a bit of a wasn't a failure, but it wasn't great. But you know, every time you go here, you always learn, and the car's always changing a little bit. The track's always evolving, so you're constantly updating your brain.
Yep. Later in the year, we're going to come back here for the International, and hopefully the S5000s will be joining us on track. So what they're doing at the moment is they're just having a little bit of a run around and get a feel for the track here at Mount Panorama for the first time, which is actually pretty exciting in itself. Let's go upstairs and learn a bit more, guys.
Barretts, thank you. We've been looking forward to this for a long, long time now. The S5000s, this is a demonstration run here today at Mount Panorama. Richard Crowell's alongside me, Matt Nolte, for this. We've heard it out there for a lap or two now. How good is it to see an open wheeler around this famous mountain?
It's just the best thing ever, Nolts, and cannot wait to see these cars race here at the Bathurst International in November. This is young gun Braden Wilmington. He's a rising star in the VHTS 5000 Australian Drivers' Championship that we've been following. Compelling racing over the opening 3 rounds with a finale to come in 3 weeks at Sydney Motorsport Park. But this is an opportunity to see how these cars work at Mount Panorama. Dial in some settings, work out gear ratios, ride heights, so we can spread that all over to the rest of the category, braking points as well, in time for International in November when we have a full field of these cars racing here. As an open wheel purist, this is the most exciting thing to see the latest iteration of big banger open wheelers that are representing the Motorsport Australia Gold Star, the Australian Drivers' Championship, one of the most prestigious awards in the sport, coming back to this place.
What changes are they going to have to make? Because we go to Phillip Island, probably our most elevated track we have. What are they going to do to these cars when we get here in November?
Well, I think the major changes will be perhaps gear ratio for Conrod Straight, the longest straight in Australian motorsport, and maybe some ride height or spring rates to deal with the compressions at the top. Metal, great, Reed Park, the run onto McPhillamy. But outside of that, these cars will race on every circuit. The chassis is based on International Formula 3 chassis, so they race at Spa, Francorchamps and Nürburgring. Trucks with lots of elevation change and really difficult corners. This is an FIA Grade 2 circuit. It's licensed to run these cars. They should be able to run here. This is just a learning experience for the category to work out the little details, to spread across all of the other cars and get ready to come back. What a sight to behold, though, from the Love New South Wales drone cam on the run down through the Dipper.
It's amazing, just out behind our commentary box during the lunch break we just had a few moments ago, lots of people marvelling at this car and the effort that's gone on to it. It's been going on for several years now to get it to this point. And also a great moment for Braden Wilmington because he's needed more laps this year than anybody. He's had a tough start to his S5000 campaign. Yeah, you're absolutely right. A little privateer team. This is a home round for them. They're not based that far away from Bathurst. I just have to pause at the chase. That's remarkable stuff as he runs down the hill to the chase. And you might be going, hang on, open wheelers at Bathurst, that's not a thing. This is a mecca of touring car racing. But this place hosted the Australian Grand Prix on 4 occasions. The final in 1958, it was won by the great Lex Davis in a Ferrari. It's hosted the Australian Drivers' Championship on 13 occasions. So there really is a cool open wheel heritage at Mount Panorama and Bathurst, and we're going to add another chapter to it in November. That's a taste test. This car back on the racetrack tomorrow for some more. Well, Braden heading back into the pits. He's been racing the Speedway dirt tracks for several seasons, Barretts, but looking forward to seeing him and all the stars of S5000 here in November.
Richard Crowell, Matt Nolte, we sure are. Thank you very much, boys. What do you make of that, Dave, from here?
Well, glad someone else is driving that car, not me, because I wouldn't be wanting to caught dead in one of those cars around here. It's too dangerous.
It is
Maybe
wild,
I'm getting old.
No, can't believe it. But magnificent to see. I mean, there's a buzz about it. It certainly created a buzz today.
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of people lining up to have a look at it. There's, just a fantastic looking car, fantastic sounding car, and they obviously are very fast. So we don't see many open wheelers at this track, so it's it's a spectacle.
Pretty special indeed. GT's coming up, Hodgie, this afternoon. We're looking forward to that. One of your favourites, and anything could happen in this race as well.
Yeah, speaking of good-looking cars, they're certainly on track this one. Yeah, I was speaking to Brenton Grove, your boss out the back there just a minute ago, Dave, and he says in his Porsche GT3R that he's going to be challenging up the front. He's got a 10-second penalty in the pit lane, but all in all, Garth Tander, Chaz Mostert, they're going to be tough to beat for sure. It's going to be epic watching.
Some great names, Dave, guys who you regularly race against and used to race against are in this field. It's a real talent, and the cars, Hodge, as you say, they're mighty around here.
Yes, like a GT car is obviously one of the faster touring cars you could ever race around here. And if I was going to rob a bank, these are the type of cars I'd buy. So, bank robbers, take your pick of what you want.
Good move. All right, let's get to the action. GT race coming up. Let's go back to Richard Craill and Matt Nolte. Gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you, Brett Reynolds. What a classic, isn't he? He'll join us very soon for the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. Chris Stubbs alongside me, ready for the first 60-minute race of the second round of this year's championship, dominated by Audi at Phillip Island.
Absolutely, it was a great start to the championship. We see here we've got our 4 different classes. The different colours on the left-hand side will indicate for you at home who is doing what in each of their categories. So you can see for yourself the pro drivers and the amateurs, of course, in our top Pro-Am class, then our amateur championship in the green allotment. Then we move down to our older generation, the Trophy Series cars are there, and then we have our 1 GT4 entry. 18 cars this weekend, Matt Nolte.
And good to see Mark Griffith back in the field in the GT4 class. This is the schedule for the weekend, 2 races of which we're about to kick off. Qualifying 1 was held earlier today. That sets the grid for race number 1. With the lower ranked driver will start for that race. Qualifying 2 sets the grid for the higher ranked driver, and that'll come up tomorrow morning here. So a bit of a change from what we saw at Phillip Island at the previous race. And the 60 minutes starts from when we leave the control line with the safety car, not when they take the green flag.
That's right, and most importantly this weekend we have our mandatory pit stops, so that's going to be the big strategy play for this weekend. Now that window opens 25 minutes into the race and closes with 35 minutes left. So you can see the cars have to complete at least 1 mandatory pit stop per race within that pit stop window that I just spoke about. Now, the minimum pit stop time that must be completed for that compulsory stop for this round, it's 100 seconds. So that's 65 seconds standing still, 35 second-ish transit time if you like. And then we have some penalties that have been added to that as well. That's following on from race 2 down at Phillip Island. So 15 seconds if you won, 10 seconds if you're second, and 5 seconds if you're third.
And of course we started the first race at Phillip Island with just a flat 96 seconds. It's 35 seconds from the control line when you come into pit lane to the exit of pit lane, and a total of 65 seconds stationary time before you leave your respective pit bays. So a good grid of cars and a beautiful day here. Couldn't ask for better conditions. I know there's been a lot of rain in this part of the world. I've never seen Mount Panorama look this good this time of the year.
It is so green, it's incredible, and we know that there's been some hard times for plenty of people in New South Wales, so our thoughts with them as they're drying out and recovering. In terms of recovery, there's a few people not here this weekend. We've got some new inclusions. David Wall is one of them in his Lamborghini, but Maranello Ferrari, Adrian Dietz in the 488, that one was on fire down at Phillip Island. It was entered, but they haven't been able to repair it in time for this weekend, but they will be back in that car. That's the good news. The Ferrari isn't on the scrap heap just yet. Adrian Dietz, though, returns with David Wall in that Lamborghini. Nice life, isn't it, when you can just swap out of a Ferrari into a Lambo?
Tough life. I know Greg Rust has done it on several occasions. Let's head down to the grid with him right now.
Matt, thank you very much. I love this class, and we know that right around the country there are some good cars that are gradually re-emerging from garages. There is a resurgence in this category here, which we love, thanks to the new management and the closer alignment with things on a global basis. Take this in for a moment and soak it up. So Yasser Shahin to the right of the grid. On my left, Brett Hobson, that magic Nissan GTR. Why don't we just have a quick word with him for a second? Can we get in and have a word? We can. Nice sight to be front row of the grid, isn't it?
It's good to see the old Godzilla back out the front again, I think.
There's lots of support for Godzilla, and just give us a sense of approach to this race in the wake of Phillip Island and so on.
At the moment, look, we're just going to we're just going to take it as it goes. And look, hopefully just have a clean run and go from there.
Nice to chat, Brett. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
We'll keep moving here. I'll shut that door and let you do your thing. I think Yasser has said we can have a quick word with him. So why don't we wander around to the Audi that he'll share with Garth Tander, which was successful at the Island. I think we're allowed to have a quick word with him. Yasser, thanks for talking to us. Any little messages, any words from Garth before you got going today?
No, I think he just gave me a knuckle and said, do it.
Yep. You've enjoyed your time here at the mountains.
I've had a ball, mate. Look at the weather here. I've had an absolute ball.
It's been great, hasn't it? And car's been fast, and the momentum from Phillip Island, the positivity from that for you guys has been terrific.
You know, we feel good, mate. We're not making any mistakes. Hopefully we'll put on a good show for you today.
Nice to chat with him. We'll go back to Hodgie.
Yeah, I got Garth Tander in the lane here with us, mate. Yeah, you got a welcome rest. How are you feeling before the race?
Yeah, it's been all go today. You know, GT car, TCR car, couple of races. So yeah, had about 45 minutes to eat some lunch and get some fluids in. But looking forward to this one, obviously, starting from pole. Yasser did an awesome job this morning in qualifying. So see how we go.
Yeah, and Yasser and yourself been very strong. What's the strategy today?
Oh, we've got a 15-second extra in our pit stop because of our success at Phillip Island at the previous round. So really, Yasser's try and get to the front and build as big a gap as we can. He was really fast this morning, so it's really comfortable in the car. So the plan is to get in the front and run as much as we can because we know we're going to be sitting still in the lane for an extra 15 seconds.
Well, good luck, mate. Best of luck. Back to you, Rusty.
Hodgie, thank you. I'm with Brad Schumacher. This has been a real story in the last 24 hours after a frightening moment yesterday. Firstly, tell us about that.
Yeah, so just coming down Conrod Straight as per usual, no warnings on the dash, and yeah, had a right rear tyre fail at around 250 kilometres an hour, and you know, after that I'm just a passenger, and of course we contacted the wall, caused a bit of damage, but you know, my guys worked tirelessly throughout the night, haven't had any sleep, gave me a good car, did a 2 minutes 7.1 this morning, so we're back on track again.
Tremendous effort. Let's just underscore that for a moment. It literally was an all-nighter, wasn't it?
It was an all-nighter, mate. We were literally putting it on the flat patch to do our setup 20 minutes before we had to roll out for quali 1.
Amazing. And a little funny sort of side story. Here at the mountain, we've got lots of great campers, and we enjoy it when the car's engines fire up. But the engine, I think, was fired up pretty early this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, I heard a story that apparently the guys had fired the engine up to just run the gearbox through its paces, and it was around 3:30 in the morning. Apparently a few of the campers up behind the pit support paddock weren't all that impressed, but once they realised why we were doing it, I think it all calmed down a little.
I think everyone's a big fan of the event. Well done to you and the team. Great effort. Nice to see you on the grid.
Thanks so much.
There we go. We've got a minute, I think, before we've got to be kicked off here. I'll do the right thing by Brad and make sure that that's shut properly. We'll spin around over here. Tony Bates alongside Chaz Mostert. He's got the eyes on. I don't know if we can have a word with him. Not looking like it at the moment. So they're pretty focused here at the moment. And the reason for that will be the battle with the car directly in front of them. Tony wants to take it to Yasser Shahin. Make no mistake, among the pro drivers here, the likes of Garth Tander and Chaz Mostert, yes, there's competition, but equally, there's heaps of competition among the AM drivers. When they get out after practice sessions, they're often checking to see where their rival AM drivers are. Back to you guys, let's enjoy this one.
Yeah, good point, Rusty, too. And they've got an additional 10 seconds on the Shahin Tander car as well. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see when we get going in just a few moments' time. Hey, boys, David Reynolds is also in the commentary box with us. How good is it, not only to have great weather, but to have crowds here at Mount Panorama this time?
Thanks for having me, boys. Good to be back. Someone actually wanted me back, which is fantastic. No, it's awesome to be here. Awesome to have people back and, you know, engage with some fans and have a chat to people. It's the best time of your life when you're here.
And a top of 26 degrees today. It doesn't get any better than that. That's a huge effort by the Schumacher team. And the pace that he has had in that older generation car to be on the second row and Hobson to be on the front row, also a trophy car, giving it to the newer cars as well. That's a phenomenal effort. I think we need to tip our hats to them.
Absolutely. We talked offline prior to this race about the Schumacher car and the work that went in overnight. I pointed out he just lives over the hill here at turn number 1, so it wasn't too far to go and get the spare parts last night. The Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, race number 1 here at Mount Panorama, sets off behind the back of the Hyundai safety car. 1 hour of competition, which now has started. We need to clear that up from Phillip Island. There was a few comments out there saying, why doesn't it start when it comes around to get the green flag? Well, it's starting from a time point, which was 2:15 local time here at Bathurst, so even though it's the formation lap, this does count towards the race.
Tony Quinn there, of course, on double duties. It's always an easy one to spot in the bright yellow local legend. So he's actually the equal class leader in the AM Championship as well, with Arthur Abrams, who's a 65-year-old who continues to go from strength to strength, just working his way through. You can tell by the mirror on this one. This is the Wall Dietz car. This is the Lamborghini. Guys that you know very well, Dave.
Yes, no, a lot of people in this category race with some of them and race against them. But going back to that Schumacher crash, I just wanted to know, well, I haven't really spoke to him, have you boys spoke to him? But, you know, when a tyre starts, like, before it pops, it generally gives a bit of a warning sign, like if it's going down in pressure or, you know, the rear of the car starts to, like, skate around a bit more. I just wanted to know something more about it if there was, before it actually exploded, which is, you know, quite a rare thing.
Well, our understanding is it had been delaminating for a couple of laps, but
really?
as he said, no warning. Didn't know it was coming.
Okay, wow. That's unusual.
But the good news is it's back on the track.
Yes,
and it'll
very
start
fast.
from 4th position. So Shaheen and Hobson will square off on the front row. Bates and Schumacher on the 2nd row. Quinn and Taylor on the 3rd row. 5 and 6 we go back to Stephen Grove will start the car with Jeffrey Ibrahim starting in the 888 for today's race. Max Twigg and Nick Kelly starting from 9th and 10th here today.
Over the page it is Abrahams and Bailey on row 6 from a guy who Dave knows well, Mark Sini, that raced at Sepang together from Dietz and Wall, who enter this weekend. McPherson and Porter have plenty of experience, and as we said, 18 cars going around for race 1 this weekend of the 2021 Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia at Mount Panorama. Great to see GT cars back at the Mount.
It's been a long time in the waiting. Part of our coverage in pit lane for today's race is Jess Dane. Let's head down to her in pit lane.
Yes, I'm down in pit lane and I have tracked down Brenton Grove. You know Bathurst really well. You've got lots of experience around here and it's usually been a good run. Do you think you can keep that going today?
Normally we've got 12 hours to play with and a lot more strategy, different fuel loads and lap cars, and so it's a bit of a different ball game. Being 2 drivers and racing against Shane and Chaz and Garth, they're pretty quick. So look, we didn't have the best run in qualifying, either of us, so we've probably got a bit of work up our sleeve, but look, we'll do our best and see where we end up.
That was going to be my next question. What's it like going toe for toe with some of us supercars' best drivers, some of the best drivers that we've seen in Australia and around this mountain?
I mean, it's really cool. I mean, it's good to benchmark yourself against the best drivers in the country, and obviously Shane's the best driver in this part of the world at the moment. So it's really cool to race them. But then when you come back, I've looked at the timesheets, and they're a little bit up the road. It kind of spurs you on to do a bit more. But hopefully we can have a good battle in the race and see where we end up.
Well, we are moments away, so we'll let you go.
Thank you very much.
Doing a great job, of course, in that brand new 911, one of very few models of that car in Australia at this point in time. And guys that you know very well, Dave Reynolds, the boss.
No, disclaimer, yeah, they're my bosses. Both Stephen and Grove obviously bought half of Kelly Racing, and you know, I've contracted myself to Kelly Grove Racing for the next 2 years. So yeah, very good people. Isn't Brenton, like, for a young kid, very intelligent, very smart, good driver, loves motor racing, and yeah, I couldn't be happy to partner with someone like him.
23 years of age. I know that Garth Tander is very impressed with that car. Said it is strong everywhere. What's the feedback they've given you?
Yeah, that's an amazing car. Yeah. When you go look at it, it's one of the sexiest cars you could ever look at. It is, yeah, it's got heaps of aero, good down the straight, good braking. It's kind of the overall package at the minute. So the boys are just sort of getting used to it. They haven't done many laps in it admittedly, so they're just trying to get their head around it. And obviously this is the worst track to come to get your head around a car.
So the car's heading down towards the final turn in the rows of 2. The Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, the 2nd round, powered by AWS here at Mount Panorama. It's been a long time in the coming, and we're set for 55 minutes of racing time when they come to the start line. Shaheen and Hobson, Audi and Nissan GTR at the line, and we get underway in race number 1 here today. You watch the 77 into turn number 1. It'll be trying to disappear down the road and try and build a big margin before we head to the pit stop window, opening between the 25th minute and closing at the 35th minute of this race.
So up Mountain Straight for the first time, it is Shaheen. He did a great job at Phillip Island, where they got the double at the island, but he's been followed by the iconic GTR of Hobson. The trophy entry sticking with Shaheen at the moment.
Clean start.
Yeah, clean start so far. Max looks like he lost a couple of spots, but you know, all of a sudden it's all good. No one's crashed. They're all, you know, realise that it's an hour race and they need to get into it. And, you know, from the 25, 35-minute mark, that's when some of the pros get in and really hammer it home.
There's Stephen Grove in the Porsche 911, car number 4, as they work their way across the top of Mount Panorama for the first time. So Shaheen out to 0.4 of a second, very early stages of the lap. And Hobson, he did a great job at Phillip Island, I thought.
He's pressuring the leader right now in a trophy car, which is unusual,
yes.
but he's doing a fantastic job. But obviously, like, Yasser did such a good job the last round. I was so impressed with him. You know, winning that last race was epic.
And it is important for Brett to get a good lead because he won that second race at Phillip Island, so he has the 15-second time penalty added to his mandatory pit stop because of that victory. He's the trophy class leader, and he's also doing the 6 hours, so he's a busy boy this weekend, Brett. To come through Forest's Elbow for the first time, there's the Lamborghini, the new entry for this weekend. Top speed's around 260, Dave, for a GT car here in this field.
The funny thing with this category is you know, there's all types of different cars, and there's all types of different speeds as well. So, you know, some cars might do 270, some cars might do 260, but you know, the cars that do 260 will be faster across the top. So, you know, there's a range of different ways you can make your speed around this track with this style of car. So that's what creates really good racing.
So clean first lap here in race number 1. There's Tony Quinn, hard to miss, the local legends Aston Martin Vantage, that runs back in 5th position.
A little bit too clean, isn't it? Like, kind of want a bit of push and shove at the start, don't you? Don't speak to her.
Are you having a bit of FOMO, fear of missing out?
Yeah, I am actually. Like, you know, I've never really come here just to be a spectator. It's kind of a strange feeling. I've always been part of the action somehow, and always thought about, you know, the next session, the next race, and what am I doing out there? Where's my brake markers, and trying to better myself. But you know, this is weird. I'm just chilling out, talking to you blokes.
You've been genuinely impressed with the TCR racing today, as we see Shane Van Gisbergen looking on. Prince Jeffrey, we understand he's got a little bit of work to do. There's a bit of pressure on him with Brody Kostecki there in the background as well. Shane, fantastic. Look, we can't say enough about what he has done. Dave, as a fellow competitor, with that broken collarbone, he's had the surgery on it, and then to find out he's also been competing with 3 broken ribs. You must be so impressed with his ability to do that.
Much tougher than I will be. I would have called it quits a long time ago. As soon as I would have come off my bike, I was like, I'm not going to make the next round. So, you know, he's obviously pushed on. He's hit a purple patch in his life. You know, it's, you know, the level of experience and maturity, and, you know, obviously the team's in a good patch as well, and he's just smoking everyone. So, yeah, he's going to be very hard to beat for the rest of us.
An absolute tear, no doubt about that. It started here at the 1,000 last year. So working our way through the second lap, let's head down to pit lane. Greg Rust.
Matt, I just wanted to pick up on the conversation there you were having in relation to speeds around different parts of the track, and perhaps get David to dive in here. Garth Tander said to me yesterday, across the top of the mountain at the Great there in the Audi, you're looking at 5th gear, around 220, 225 k's an hour. Slight lift back to about 30% throttle, then back onto it. It is a very brave part of the track in that Audi.
He is right. Driving a GT car is actually super scary across the top because it's so fast. It was compared to what I'm used to in the supercar. You're doing probably 20 or 30 k's an hour faster across the top than a supercar. But obviously the supercar is much faster down the straight, so that's why they kind of do a comparative lap time.
And it was evident last year in qualifying for the 12-hour, wasn't it, really? The amount of shunts, because these
that
guys,
was epic.
Jay, just hold on and hope the aero is going to work. And 99.76% of the time it does.
It does. And was that the race that had epic shunts? There was like a car on the fence. Like one went off. I think Dean Cano went over the fence. And, yeah, it was just awesome.
Tander himself, he had a massive one. Did he? Yeah, he had a massive one. So a bit of aero wash across the top of McPhillamy, and yeah, it was ouch for him, that's for sure.
Hobson's looking menacing at the minute, isn't he?
He's kept the gap at half a second. Fastest lap of the race. Roland Dane looks on down at the Triple Eight Johor Motor Racing team. A great combination. They've been dabbling over in Asia in the recent years. Great to have SVG. It'll be interesting to see how he goes back behind the wheel. Subbed by Jamie Whincup down at Phillip Island at the round down there.
I just love the sound of the cars. They all sound different, but they all sound like, amazing. I love it.
Yeah, you can stand behind the pits here or behind the grandstand. You can pick on the engine note going past. That's pretty cool.
It's beautiful.
And surely there couldn't have been too many complaints from the campground at 3 a.m. I'm sure most of the people here were dreaming about racing anyway. So when you hear an Audi R8 fire up in your dreams, that's not a bad thing.
What do you expect though? You're at a racetrack. You're camping at a racetrack. You're going to expect some noise.
Probably an opposition team.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well, how many of them were asleep anyway? That's the question in the Bathurst campgrounds at 3 a.m. There probably weren't many woken up as it is.
It's good to see campers as well. It's
great.
It's quite a few camping people around.
It's noticeable the crowds are much bigger for this year's High-Tech Goals Bathurst 6-hour qualifying to come up later today. There is the World Manufacturers points coming into this round. Mercedes on top at the moment, ahead of Porsche, Lamborghini and Audi Sport after the first round of the year. And this has been a great step forward for GT racing in this country, and it's now part of the world, the SRO organisation. Now it's part of the World Championship, if you will, and it's only going to get bigger and better from here, because for a while it was a bit out in the wilderness. We didn't know where the future of GT racing was going, but it's in good hands now.
Plenty of support for it, isn't it? So tied in now with the same categories, with the same rules through Europe, America and Asia, where the other GT World Challenge events race. So it just means anywhere you travel in the world now, these results, they really mean something, and you can jump into cars there and everyone knows that you're at the same mark and you're understanding the same rules. So great transparency.
There's a big if in that right now, isn't it, when it comes to travel?
Yeah, they're always subject to change, isn't it? Motor racing and rules are always subject to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony Quinn on the back of Tony Bates, heading up, bouncing straight here. 48 minutes. We're about 13, maybe 25 minutes away still from the pit window opening. Quinn. Oh,
Tony.
A bit on for
chopped him off.
Early in the race, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tony doesn't like to be passed. He'd be steaming in that helmet, trying to keep him at bay.
We'll hand over to Chaz Mostert, that's cleaned up in the Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia Series, 2 wins today, and we'll head in tomorrow's favourite for the final race, which will catch on 7 May. David Wall looks on down in the pits, teaming up with Adrian Dietz, their car running back in 14th place.
That's a stylish mow behind him, isn't it? It's a good-looking mow.
A lot of effort's gone in.
Yeah, a lot of effort's gone in. I wish I could grow something.
I was going to say, how long would it take you to get to that?
Oh, 10 years, forever. But mine goes all like multicoloured. It's not the coolest thing.
There's a bit of ginger there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's not the best.
Well, it's such a busy weekend here, isn't it? There's so many drivers and teams that are featured across so many categories. There's going to be some very tired people come 6 o'clock tomorrow night.
Yeah. 6 hours got 60 cars or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, 60 plus 60 cars, yeah.
100 plus drivers. You know, there's a lot of effort that goes into it. Yeah, I should walk around pit lane and try and get myself a Guernsey.
You've been trying.
Well,
you've upset 3/4 of the field with your interviews, so you're well on your way to not getting the draft. Big time down in the chase. Here's Bates and Quinn. Just behind is Stephen Grove, while Shaheen is keeping Hobson at bay, but the gap has not blown out. They've got nearly 9 seconds back to Brad Schumacher, who's rewarding his team, the Kelso Electrical team, with a great 3rd place at the moment in this first race of the weekend.
I feel for his crew because they must be buggered. Doing an all-nighter at a racetrack on a Friday night just to fix a car, I'd be screwed.
They'll be hoping for a very clean race and an early night because they're on track early tomorrow morning here for the 2nd race. Car 23, the KFC Audi with Max Twig behind the wheel. He's down in 8th position, and just behind is the AAA Mercedes. Jeffrey Ibrahim running in 9th position, just ahead of Nick Kelly. I say just ahead, he's about 6 seconds down the road, but remember, the pit stop times will come in. We've got some additional times for our top 3. We'll talk about that closer to the pit stop window. Oh, Quinn goes massively wide there at Griffins.
He got past Tony and then he drove around the outside.
Describe what that's like.
Tony gets it back.
It's really one line around there, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a massive camber on the middle of the road to the inside of the road. So, you know, if you don't get in that groove, you're just understeer towards the fence. So, you know, it's a very, very difficult corner to get right. Tony got that back, so yeah. There's a bit of afterpay out there. Buy now, pay later.
Big time back at the front. Gap sits at just under half a second with Shaheen, who drove fantastically well. We'll hand over to Garth Tander during this race. A double victory in the first round for Bell Performance Centre team.
That's the hairstyle too. He's definitely flying by that fella.
So, okay, no more fellas. You got your shots. Schumacher on target for his fastest lap of the race. It's very early days. 44 minutes at the end of this lap remain. And they've got nearly 9 seconds, like I said, back to Schumacher. Bates, another 4.5 seconds. Rusty, didn't you feature a mow like this in a movie a few years ago?
I wish I could pull a mow like that off Matt Nolte. He knows very sadly. They're all laughing here that he's had the mickey taken out of him. David, a quick word with you. Paul Forgy on the headset at the moment, chatting with Adrian Dietz. Didn't give me too much in terms of when he'll pit, but obviously he just said when the window opens or before it closes.
He won't even tell me, so yeah, look, I'm just getting ready. But yeah, look, we'll just keep Dietz in as long as we can there, and we'll pit when it's best time to do so.
He sounds happy, and importantly, mate, you're enjoying being back here at the wheel of a GT car, aren't you?
I think if you're driving anything around here, it's great, let alone one of these GT cars. It's very enjoyable. So yeah, just enjoying driving around with Dietz and have a good time.
Final one. Has that meant that you've parked things in relation to looking after the TCR cars and just focused on this?
Yeah, so this came about reasonably late. So effectively, the boys down at TCR are doing that. I'm up at GT. We've also got the Trans Am car running as well. So busy weekend.
On you. Enjoy.
Thanks.
We'll just give you an update as well. We have had a time penalty added to the car of Stephen and Brenton Grove. So this one could be an important one. They were already going to have an extra 10 seconds to their 100-second stop. That will now be 15 seconds to the 100-second stop. That was a 5-second penalty for a start infringement, so that will be added to that stop time.
Which floats them out to 115 seconds. It's going to be the same stop time as Yasser Shahin when he comes into the pits. So quick to fire on that one with race control.
Quinny finally passed Tony Bates and made the move stick and he's cleared it.
How cool is it that Tony Quinn, he just loves his racing, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's been involved for a very, very long time.
It's interesting.
Not a very, very long time, but a long time.
It's interesting, all the different byproducts in this one too. Of course, a Triple Eight owner out there. We know we've got a Kelly Grove Racing owner out there as well. And then you've got the two teammates that won the Bathurst 1000 last year in Tander and Van Gisbergen in opposition cars as well. So there's plenty of bragging rights on the line, not just the trophies today.
Yeah, absolutely.
The funny thing is, like, some of the amateur drivers, like, might have bigger egos than some of the race drivers. Yeah. It's always good to watch them.
If you were to pick a car, what would you drive?
Oh, definitely the Porsche. That's the newest and greatest car you could ever have. But obviously, I've driven a range of these ones. The Audi, for me, doesn't really suit me. It's a bit twitchy, a bit nervous in the rear. But the Mercedes AMG, very stable, very quite understeery most of the time. Very, very balanced. That's a car I've driven here at the 12-hour, and yeah, I thoroughly loved it. Had the best time.
Cool. How about you?
I'd take a Hyundai Excel, would do me. Just anything to get out on the mountain and get around. I think that's the one that might be the most attainable for me.
Baby steps for us.
Yeah, start small, dream big. That's the plan. We're seeing Max Twigg there in the car 23. Now, he's a replacement coming in for Matt Stupas. So Matt wasn't able to make it this weekend. Max himself, though, with plenty of experience. A 12-hour class podium, Carrera Cup, GT, the former owner of the Byron Bay Beach Hotel. And if we weren't here today, that would probably be the next best place to be.
That'd be a good place to be right now. It's a beautiful day out there, isn't it? Look at it.
If only we could get that here somehow. They're lifted in for the weekend. That'd be great. Hope you're enjoying our coverage on 7+. The Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia race number 1. We head close to the pit stop window opening. Look back at Greg Taylor. And there is Jeffrey Ibrahim, that beautiful silver Mercedes. And saw 23 in the middle of that group of cars going across the top. Sorry, it's my eyesight that was looking at the wrong car. I swear I saw the Audi for a moment. Our lead Audi anyway, which is 0.8 of a second. This has been impressive for Hobson. He's going to have 115 seconds in his pit stop because he picked up the win in the trophy class at Phillip Island at the first round. So working our way down the mountain once again. Let's get back to pit lane with Jess.
Brenton Grove, I didn't think I'd be back here talking to you this soon, but penalty for a race start procedure. Can you tell us what happened?
To be honest, I don't know any more than anyone else. I just heard the penalty come through, so obviously Steve must have done something that he wasn't meant to, or whether he jumped the gun, I'm not sure. I couldn't quite see the start, and it's all judge of fact, so we can't look into it after the race. So at the moment we have to just wear it, and I'm going to have to drive a bit harder in my stint.
Exactly, and how does that set you up for the next stint? Can you give us any insight to that?
Oh, it's going to be hard. We had a 10-second penalty anyway from coming second in the last race, so we're already 10 seconds behind. Now we're 15. I'm just going to have to put my best drive in and see where we end up. But it's really hard to pass here, so I'll do my best and we'll see how we go. But it's going to be a long stint.
Luckily, the car's looking pretty speedy out there, but we will be watching closely because I bet it's going to be an epic stint.
Yeah, I can't wait. We'll give it all.
Thanks. Good luck.
So just put it in perspective, obviously a 10-second to a 15-second penalty, they come second. Last round, so they get a 10-second penalty. But to add 5, it's like they've won the race type thing. But it's obviously it's all not lost for them. They can still make it up, but it just makes things much more difficult.
5 seconds can make a big difference in terms of track position too. If we get a pretty tight section of cars bunched up together at any point. So at this point, Stevens really needs to get past Tony Bates and get motoring. He would be aware of. You would think they would have told him about the penalty, the push, but he's under pressure because in the rear he's got Maxi Twig as well. So easier said than done, isn't it?
I think Yass has just put the foot down. He's done the fastest first sector of the race. So maybe his tyres finally come up. He's got his confidence together and he's pushing on.
He's got to take into consideration he needs to have at least 15 seconds back to the Triple A. At the moment, it sits at 22 seconds. So
doing all right then,
it's got a margin, yeah. So that's okay at the moment. And praying we don't get a safety car.
Yes, that happened last round. Ruined it for a lot of people.
But at the moment, it's clean and green here at Mount Panorama. As they work their way down into Forest Elbow. Just a whisker over 38 minutes to go. So whizzing on by. The lap times in the 2:08s for our lead 2 cars. Down to Mark Griffith, who's the only GT4 car here, running back in 17th. He's lapping in the 2:22s. Rusty.
Who is the event director, in fact, for the Bathurst 6 Hour, but has, as you know, a wealth of experience around category management for GT competition in this country. Brenton was unsure about the penalty there in that interview. Can you put a full stop on it for us? What is the penalty exactly for?
So he's got a 5-second penalty, added to his pit stop time. So bringing up to, I think it's 115 seconds now. He failed to actually travel over his grid line, or his grid box, prior to the circuit going green, the race going green. So
Ken's busy, we'll let him get back to it. Thank you for clarifying, guys.
I appreciate Ken's time. He's a very busy man here at Bathurst today as Ibrahim makes the move on Taylor down at Hell Corner. So that puts him up another position into 8th. And he'll be trying to bring the lap times down now on car 777 that continues to lead the race. We've chalked over 8 laps so far.
Great move. He's been trying that for a number of laps and finally got it done.
Not easy doing that to Hill Corner, is it?
Nah, it's one of the harder corners to pass at. Sorry, I need to untwist my tongue. It's one of the harder corners to pass at, but you know, as a driver, you know it's all uphill, so you got that extra bit of braking confidence when you dive down the inside. But most people just try and set them up for the run up mountain straight into turn 2. So. But generally, if the car's coming up behind you at Mountain Straight, you always tend to block them. So in turn 1, it's a little bit sneaky and it's unexpected.
That's a brave move too for someone who is having his first time here at the mountain. So Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, the Prince.
And he's just on fastest first sector.
Of Johor, a state of Malaysia. So he's here for 12 months. He has security with him the whole time. That was part of the agreement. He's been working very hard at Norwell, also with SVG doing some work with him on the sim too. So he's putting in the hard yards to make sure he's up at the level and a fitting combatant alongside someone like Shane Van Gisbergen.
And he's only just started racing in the last 3 years.
Really?
At 25 years of age, he got behind the wheel of a car. He's also a director at the Johor circuit in Malaysia. That track hosted MotoGP back in the 90s and World Superbike rounds. A very tricky 14-turn course up there, but really loving his time being out in Australia. As SVG gets ready, he's suited up because the pit window is about to open. The 35-minute mark remaining of the race.
Dave, straightforward strategy for most, do you think? You want to get your pro drivers in as soon as possible, maximum laps, it's as obvious as that?
Yeah, definitely. This pit lane, it's hard to get blocked, hard to get congested, so they won't lose a lot of time if something gets blocked because it's a really, really wide pit lane. So you can get your cars in and out pretty fast, so yeah, they'll be trying to get them in as soon as that 25-minute board comes out.
So they're at 25 seconds behind our leader now, Ibrahim in car 888, who passed Taylor on the previous lap at this corner. So everybody's starting to set their fastest laps. David Wall getting prepared. He'll jump into the Lamborghini Huracan. It's running back in 12th position. Behind the wheel is Adrian Dietz. We saw him in the Ferrari at the first round at Phillip Island.
Brenton having a look, coming up Mountain Straight into Griffins. He'll be desperate to get past, but it gets pretty narrow up through here as we enter the cutting. You know, it's a 1 in 6 gradient. As the lane is now officially open, you can see that marked on the left-hand screen there at the top of the totem. So we can now have our drivers come in and the changes will happen at the end of this lap.
Tony's making that Audi very wide, isn't he? Seems to have a bank of cars behind him. I wonder what he's got. Wonder what's going on with him.
He's 23 seconds away from the leader, Garth Tander, down at the Melbourne Performance Centre team, getting ready. Bit of sparring with Chaz Mostert down there. Really looking forward to seeing these guys get out there very soon. And the pit lane getting ready, the Triple Eight team. Ready for the Triple Eight Mercedes to hit the lane.
It's so important, isn't it, for someone like Garth this year as a co-driver? The more laps you can have here, it doesn't matter what machine you're in, and he's on the double duties this weekend, and that's probably why he's here for TCR this weekend.
Exactly, Stubbsy. It doesn't matter what you drive here, you know, miles is miles, especially these cars, because, you know, it's kind of a similar speed to supercars, so everything comes at you at a rate of knots that your brain can get used to. So, you know, the more laps Garth can do, the better it's going to, you know, make him in the supercar. Maybe I should be out there. What am I doing up here talking to you two?
That's a very good question.
Shaheen comes into the pits. So the leader pulls in. Hobson has gone through. And so too is Schumacher. So Shaheen jumps out the Ben Motorsport Park entry. That'll be their next round in May. The international track over there at Tailem Bend in South Australia. They've done so much, the Shaheen family, to build the circuit over there. A great, very international style circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome. One of the best tracks in the world. I love it. Even the long GT style track, you know, the 7.7K circuit that we only did a couple of laps on when it first started for the GT. Awesome track. I got lost that many times. There was that many corners. I had no idea what was going on. I don't know. There's like, how many corners is there? 35, 8 corners? I don't even know.
It's insane. 7.7 Ks around the long distance. So majority of the top 5 in the pits, Shaheen, Bates, Grove and Ibrahim in the lane. And also Adrian Dietz as he comes in to perform their 100-second pit stop. So 65 seconds stationary. If you finish in the top 3 in your respective class, you've got a 15, 10 and 5 additional on top of that 100 seconds.
Only 2 people allowed to work on the car plus your car controller. It's up to you whether or not you choose to do tyres as well. So that can be a strategy play for some.
And no fuel during these stops either.
See the Triple Eight guy going around, instead of doing tyres, they just do pressure. So they're just taking as much pressure as they can out of the tyre to make it last the distance.
What impact does that have when the pressures start getting too high? You feel?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The car slides around a lot more. It just feels like something's broken almost. It feels a really strange feeling. But you know, as soon as you take the pressure out, it starts to all make sense again.
That's a close rejoin.
Yeah,
No contact in the lane is going to hurt. But Shane Van Gisbergen's smart player. He won't give a millimetre away.
These two are going to go at it. It's going to be fantastic. Chaz and Shane.
And this is helped out by the fact that the Grove car had to stay an additional 5 seconds as well. So Van Gisbergen jumps in behind the Triple Eight and goes after his old sparring partner, Chaz Mostert, as they work their way up Mountain Straight with just over 31 minutes remaining. Race 1 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS. And the pro drivers now behind the wheels. It's still Hobson out in front. He's doing solo duties in the big Nissan Nismo GTR that's been prepared by Garth Walden Racing. That team is across several categories as part of this High-Tech Oils Bathurst 6-hour weekend.
So Hobson, Quinn, Twig, the likes of these guys that have stayed out there, just making the most of the clean air at the front. Now with the pro guys in, Dave, that would be the strategy there.
Yeah, they'll probably come in soon and take some pressure out and just divide the race into half. There's no really point going too late or too early for them because they don't have to change drivers or anything. So they'll be trying to maximise the race they can.
So Schumacher in the lane with Taylor. Abrahams in the 91 Cannon Foods entry as well. Michael Bailey and Mark Sini in car 9, who's running in 9th position up until that point. Get a bit of an understanding on where they are in the scheme of things when it comes to times at the end of this lap. Grove have served that 5-second additional penalty, so they'll do it just a little bit harder in the second half of this race.
for these two drivers, like their, bread and butter has been supercars, but they've sort of converted into the GT world, which is, quite a hard step because, left-hand drive, ABS, traction control, heaps more aero, bigger tyre. They sail past the supercar brake marker by 50 metres and press the brake, which is really, really hard for your head to get around when you first jump in these cars. So obviously, these two are very, very good. Chaz actually competed for BMW Global in one of their factory teams, and Shane's obviously done a plethora of GT stuff, so he's very accomplished in these cars.
He was looking great. Chaz to run at Daytona last year as well, maybe some more European races as well, but our co-drivers have jumped out of the cars, and in the pits, the man who drove this 888 car very, very well is with Brad Hodge.
Yeah, I got Jeffrey Ibrahim with me, mate. What a performance. That was an amazing, epic effort.
Thanks, mate. Didn't qualify that well, so still learning, new in the GT around here, but yeah, tried to keep it, played it smart, and just so that Shane can get a clean car, and it was fun out here racing.
And this is only your second time around this track. I mean, how did you come to grips with this amazing race circuit?
Sorry?
How did you come to grips with this amazing race circuit, only the second time on track?
Yeah, well, it's totally different than driving a 86 around here. So much speed, much more scary, but so much fun. I really enjoyed it. And the race was fun. We kept it quite close. Didn't have a good start, so I tried to keep it close so that when Shane jumps in, we're in a good spot.
And how'd you go in the simulator as well? You spent plenty of time on that?
In Bathurst in the GT, no. So I've just been watching videos on YouTube, and Shane has been helping me a lot with his onboard videos, so that's pretty good with that.
Well, congratulations, mate. Fastest first sector for the AM drivers. Great performance, and you put the team in a good spot.
Thanks, mate.
Back to you guys.
Nice work, Hodgie, and well done, Jeffrey Ibrahim. Not too phased by Mount Panorama. It does spook a lot of people, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, it does spook everyone. It was just playing it cool. But, as a young person coming here for the first time, you got to pay respect to the mountain. You got to pay homage to it, otherwise it's going to bite you. You got to build up to it. You can't just go out there and look like a hero, because you'll end up backwards in the fence upside down and look like a right anchor.
Nick Kelly in the pits in car 99. As the pit stop window will be closing in just over 2.5 minutes' time. Hobson continues to lead and yet to pit. Same too for Max Twigg in the KFC Audi car 23. Here's Greg Taylor. And behind the wheel now of the 777 is Garth Tander, and instantly sets the fastest lap of the race in 6th position outright. As Ibrahim looks on, Kostecki in the background, who's staying to sport his own mode. Just noticed down there as well.
Shane is very fast at the moment. So the hard thing for Chaz would be when they come out of the pits together. He knows in the back of his brain that Shane had the fastest car in qualifying. He can call on that speed at really any time. So that's going to be quite a challenging thing to overcome.
So Hobson has come in at the end of this lap. So he's got to perform 115 seconds. And he's just at this stage, boys. He's likely to come out in between Tander and Mostert on our screen, should the pit stop go okay there. We're a minute 52 down the road. As we check in with Brad Schumacher. What an effort. I know we talked about that at the start of the race, but to see that car straightened up after an incident at well over 200 kilometres an hour in a straight line down Conrod Straight yesterday. This is a super effort to get that car into a good position right now, with a long way to play out though.
What's it like going back through the section where you've had a big moment? The next lap, the next time you go through there, just out of sight, out of mind, forget it, or sometimes
it really depends where it is. Like if it's a driver error and you've stuffed it up or outbroke yourself, or a car slid, you haven't caught it, you're in the fence hard, it does definitely play problems with your brain when you come back around there. But that sort of incident he had was like a one-off tyre failure thing, so hopefully it hasn't damaged his brain too much. Like I mean, emotionally, if you know what I mean, not like as in impact.
It was quite an impact too. It was nasty.
I enjoyed checking the in-car, because what he said after was
pretty colourful.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to think of some better words.
Yeah, we had to chop that down by about 8 seconds. Not fit for public consumption this time of the day. Meantime, counted the final turn. Hobson about to leave the pits anytime soon, so we should see the 777 take the lead with Twigg in the pits. There is Hobson about to leave, so he comes out, performed his pit stop, 115 seconds for winning the trophy class down at Phillip Island. just going to pull out in between these two. He's going to go side by side here up Mountain Straight. He'll tuck in between. This is pretty handy company between Mostert and Van Gisbergen.
Looks like Giz will have no problems getting up the inside of him there. He had the momentum coming up Mountain Straight and into Griffin. So the chase is on at the moment. Shane Van Gisbergen is after Chaz Mostert, two people who have tasted the ultimate success at the mountain. It was a long time coming for Shane Van Gisbergen, and few people like him have now won 3 times in a row here, the last 3 races he's been part of.
It's a good statistic.
So, whichever way you look at it, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. So generally in GT racing around here, from my knowledge, was the Audi is a little bit harder on or harsher on the rear tyres. So, you know, we'll look for Shane to start pouncing on and Chaz and trying to find a way around him as he starts to close into him. So, you know, the Audi does hammer its rear tyres a bit harder than the Merc.
Brilliant, developed a really nice tyre for this series. Well, the durability is quite high. We noticed that at Phillip Island's got the same sort of corners that we've got here. Probably just doesn't have the height and elevation changes.
And big fences around it.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, we're not creating new scripts here when we talk about the fact that Shane just loves driving.
Yeah.
The guy's got a significant physical injury, yet he turns up when he could quite easily have a great excuse to say, I'm just going to sit this one out, I've got other things to focus on. But he's doing double duties this weekend. He's doing a 6-hour as well as this 1-hour race today and another one tomorrow.
He's kind of like a Stig, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, the Stig at Top Gear that used to sit there and they used to turn him on and go, drive a car, son, and then he used to come out and sit back down.
I love it.
Go hibernate.
C-car, race car, I love it. Rusty's with Tony Bates.
I'm actually, guys, just in the Audi Sport customer racing bunker, because what I wanted to show you was the brains trust of people that are here, some super experienced minds in motorsport, and many that you'll recognise from either supercars, GT or TCR competition. So Adam DeBore, who works very closely with Chaz Mostert, Eric Pender, who was a big part of the Kmart racing operation back in the day. You got Barry Hay, who worked alongside Russell Ingall when he had success in his championship. But let's talk some drivers while we can. Tony, can I dive in for a second here? She's game on. I know you guys are watching closely. What state was the car in when you handed it over? Were you happy?
Yeah, no, I was happy with the car. Just those Aston Martins and GDRs are quick up a straight line, let me tell you. But I'll tell you what, Van Gies, Mostert, Tander, what a better way to, not a better way to finish a race, isn't it?
It's going to be a cracking finish. Just from where you stand at the moment, what you know of the car, we're going to watch this battle closely here. Has he got enough to hold Gizzy out?
No, I think he does. Look, both cars have got different strengths and weaknesses across the mountain, so I'm hoping he can hold him up and get to Tander. That's going to be a nice last 3 or 4 laps, isn't it?
We'll leave you to it. And just, guys, while we're here in the background, Yasser Shahin pacing, keeping an eye on what Garth Tander is up to. All happening right here.
He's one of the most intense characters, Yasser Shahin, in the garage, particularly before and after a race. And he'll be keeping a very close eye on the lead car at the moment, as we're just over 21 minutes away from the finish of race number 1 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge here, the second round of the season. Here's an incident that happened while we were down in the pits.
That's a big dive.
And hard to pull up there. He was coming in very hot, Greg Taylor, in the number 5. And he dropped 1 position in the process. He pulled out behind Nick Kelly, who was the last car to perform the pit stop. Mostert on a flyer here now, trying to hold back Van Gisbergen. They're 3.5 seconds away from Tander. And again, boys, we've got to say it, Brad Schumacher, 4th position.
Unbelievable job. Unbelievable.
Hobson in 5th as well, so the 2 trophy cars are continuing that push and the form and times that we've seen across the weekend. It wasn't just 1 lap pace, it's consistent pace in both of those cars and their operators. But it doesn't get any better than this, because Mostert there with the quickest lap of the race at 2:05.1, and he's taking Van Gisbergen with him as they try to chase down. As we head up Mountain Straight again, another Bathurst champion in Garth Tander. 20 minutes remaining in this 1-hour race. It is race 1 of the 2021 Fanatec GT World Challenge in Australia at Mount Panorama.
So through Griffins, they've left Schumacher some 6.5 seconds behind Van Gisbergen. He's 10 seconds behind the leader. Hobson running in 5th position now after leading the race for several laps. Max Twigg runs in 6th. Brenton Grove is now behind the wheel of the Grove Group number 4 Porsche in 7th. Tony Quinn runs in 8th. David Wall now behind the wheel of car 6. He's sharing with Adrian Dietz. And Nick Kelly completing The top 10 fastest lap of the race back on the 15th lap by Chaz Mostert, 2:05.15 in the Bostik Audi that you're watching across McPhillamy Park in race number 1. A lot to play out still in today's race.
It's going to be interesting once Shane gets to him. Like, it's pretty close to the minute, but where can he pass him? Because, you know, he's got the fastest first sector and the fastest last sector, but, you know, Chaz is, you know, a few tenths of a second across the top faster than Shane, so it's going to be interesting to find out where he can get past him.
Mercedes has the power down the straight.
Well, they're actually pretty similar in top speed. It's just, I think the Mercedes is much better braking, has better braking performance than the Audi, so it's going to be interesting. He's going to have to, like, just chuck it down the inside and hope for the best at one corner.
Here's Garth Tander, race leader. Remember, they collected the victories at the first round.
They're eating into his margin, aren't they? Car 24 has a stop-go penalty. What?
Car 24 is Chaz Mostert.
That's going to hand him a massive penalty. So car 24, Chaz Mostert, will get a stop-and-go pit lane penalty. We'll look more into this as we go down to pit lane with Jess.
Yeah, although that might not be relevant now, my update that I've got coming now that we've got a penalty, but I was going to comment on the tyre pressures, because it's quite likely that MPC put Chaz's pressures lower than 888 put Shane's pressures, meaning that we're now seeing them exchanging those fastest laps because Chaz's tyres are just coming up to those optimum pressures, and it's going to be a really intriguing battle, or it could have been a really intriguing battle until we've now got this penalty coming. So, but don't expect Chaz to slow down, because I reckon he'll be fighting for that fastest lap of the race on every lap he's got left.
You're absolutely right, Jess. The margin from Mostert, he worked it down to 2.4 seconds to Garth Tander, so he was bridging that gap and he was taking Van Gisbergen with him. But a stop-and-go pit lane penalty, that is big, big news here at Mount Panorama.
And 35 seconds plus a stop down there as well.
It's just forever, isn't it?
It's weird to see a stop-and-go penalty. Usually it's just a drive-through.
Yeah, it's very strange. He must have done something really bad, so we'll figure out what it is, but that's going to ruin his race.
Because in the days, you'd have a stop-and-go penalty because purely the pit lane was still considered part of the racetrack. So you could come here as fast as you like. That's why you've got the stop-and-go.
Is that what it was for?
Back in the day, but now you've got limiters. There's no real purpose to stop the car at the other end of the pit lane because the damage is already done.
Yeah, true. Thanks for that, Knuckles. I learn something every day.
Think of that next time.
Yeah, I didn't even know why they did stop goes.
So confirmation of it on the screen. Come up on our monitor a couple of moments ago, which is why we're telling you all about it, because that has huge ramifications. So Chaz Mostert is out of this race with Tony Bates. They are no longer in contention. So let's focus on the gap between Shane Van Gisbergen and Garth Tander, standing at 2.65 seconds as we speak.
Right, to add further to that penalty, it's for not doing the required pit stop time. So 1 second or 10 seconds, it doesn't matter. They've done too little at their compulsory, their minimum pit stop time.
Must be a standard fine they get, or standard penalty they get for it.
Correct. They had a 5-second addition to their 100-second stop. So something has gone wrong there in their calculation within that team, because that is a simple mistake to make, but with huge ramifications.
And a costly one too, because it's going to put them down to 7th, in between 7th and 9th position now, depending on how well.
I'd love to see the steam coming out of Tony Bates' head right now. As he's boiling inside.
Send Jess down to get the microphone in his face. And
there he is. There's the big man.
This will be baptism by fire if she does this. So there's going to be a lot of work to do. We'll put Van Gisbergen up into 2nd and bring Brad Schumacher into 3rd outright. And leader in the trophy class here today. What a weekend. And now, another further penalty on there, Stubbsy.
Yeah, so car 99, that's Kelly's entry, now has a stop and go, and car 9 also has a penalty. Let's get to Rusty.
I've just been speaking to some of the team management here at Audi Sport Customer Racing. The suggestion, the allegation is that it is a mere 2 tenths shy of what was required. Tony Bates, how do you feel?
How do you reckon, Rusty?
Yeah, it's hard to do interviews like this knowing where you were at this stage.
Oh, it's just a shame. I mean, Chaz is driving a great race out there. I don't know what's happened. The team have obviously been some sort of miscommunication. We've missed the pit window by 2 tenths, so a bit hard to swallow when he's catching the leader and probably on for a win. So,
well, thank you for talking to us, mate. There you are, guys. So the suggestion is it is by the slenderest of amounts. Hard luck.
That is devastating.
Wow.
Completely devastating. 0.2 of a second. Come on, they could have just gave it to him. That's why I don't run the sport.
You'd be no good in racing car.
No.
You'd be like, oh, come on, he's such a nice guy. Don't do that. And he comes down.
Oh, it's got to hurt.
So Mostert into the lane. The Bostic Audi will do this stop and go pit lane. Nick Kelly's also got one in the 99. Mercedes running back in 10th position. Stopping just beneath us here, and simple as that. Trying to get him going from here, and he's lost several seconds there just alone. 35 seconds from the top to tail of pit lane as well. So
It's devastating.
Yep. But the good news is with the
Still got a
change,
race on.
and tomorrow as well.
Yes, he won't cop
Yes.
penalty
We know,
tomorrow, so
yeah.
he's in a better
And it's
form tomorrow.
not progressive grid
Exactly.
for tomorrow, so that helps him because that was the last thing he would have needed for his Sunday race. So that would have been a happy Easter.
He's off the front row
He
tomorrow
can
as
still
well.
get the chocolates on Easter Sunday.
Oh, how's the
Nicely
pun?
done.
How's the pun?
So Hobson running back fourth outright. Just behind him is Max Twig in car 23 that we saw Matt Stupas behind the wheel of. Phillip Island. They climb their way towards the Worth cutting here. So heading towards the 10-minute mark. The margin first to second, 1.6 seconds. Now SVG is starting to set the track on fire. Fastest first sector of the race. Fastest lap still going to Mostert, who's done his pit stop and has come out in 6th position, boys.
He'll be hammering that car as much as he can to make up as many spots as he can for points for Tony and him. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle at the front here. You know, they've got 13 minutes left, and yeah, Shane's definitely on his tail right now.
Doesn't get much better than this, does it? We've got two of the greats of Australian motorsport. They're teammates
exactly
from the Triple
right.
A team. They won Bathurst together last year, but there will be only one winner on this Saturday at Mount Panorama. We've got the Audi taking on the Merc. The different strengths and weaknesses. We are set for a belter of a finish over these last 10 or so minutes at Bathurst.
I bet you Shane's glad that Mostert got a penalty. He didn't have to pass him, so
Make his life a bit easier.
He's made it heaps easier.
Mostert's got ahead of Twig incidentally behind all of this, so he's up into 5th, but I somehow can't see him making up 34 seconds in 12 minutes. It's been tight. Schumacher, Hobson, and Twig just ahead here, heading down to the final turn. So Hobson, who started from the front row, has dropped down into 4th position and 2nd in the trophy class. 2:04.36 for Shane Van Gisbergen. The gap has come down to less than 1 second in this race. What's it like, Mr. Reynolds, when you're sitting in the pits watching the car out on the track that you're not driving?
It's the worst feeling you could ever have. You just know you're just losing so much time. Anytime you sit in the pits or you had a penalty, and you can see all the cars go past and you hear the engines and everything, you're like, oh, Depression City. But, you know, they broke a rule, they get an infringement, they've got to live by that.
But not just that, but just seeing the car with someone else behind the wheel, does it feel weird? Does it look weird when you see a car out there?
No, not really. You kind of get used to it over time. You do that many races, like co-driver races, and you kind of get used to it. But, you know, in a battle, when you're watching your car like perform and, you know, either your driver makes the wrong move or gets past, you're kind of like, oh, I wish I was out there to try and make that not happen. So everyone's a bit different, though.
Easy to judge from the pits, right?
Mate, easy from the couch.
Yes.
Shane Van Gisbergen winding up for a possible move now on Garth Tander. Less than half a second in it. Dave, where's he aiming for? Or does he take a lap or two to try and work out a point of possible weakness in the Audi?
Well, you don't want to sit too long behind them because your front tyres overheat from the car in front of you. So, you know, you want to get past them as quick as you possibly can. So it's, you know, it's really up to Shane to find out where the strengths and weaknesses are. But the Audi is, you know, fundamentally better across the top, and the Merc is better in the slower stuff. So, you know, he can have a dive here if he really wants to, but he's going to play it safe.
They teamed up as co-drivers at the 1000 last year. Now they're in different camps.
Mortal enemies they are now.
Yes.
For the purpose of racing.
Into Hell Corner they go. 2:04.9 for Van Gisbergen on the previous lap. 2:05.49 for Tander. Schumacher runs in 3rd, but he's 25 seconds away from the front two cars. Mostert is 34 seconds away after that stop and go penalty in pit lane. longest 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
And Garth is one of the hardest guys to pass, right?
Garth is notoriously the hardest person to pass in supercar history, so he makes that car very, very wide, especially when there's a win on and they're coming up to a slower car. Mark Griffiths in the GT4 category. So it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate. Oh, Marky Griffiths, always loves to do GT4 as the only person in there because he's guaranteed a trophy. This is fun to do.
In terms of aero wash in these cars, is that going to be an issue at all?
When faster cars come to slower cars, I always cringe. Always cringe. Sorry, Stubbsy?
In terms of aero wash being this close for Van Gisbergen, is there anything there that'll affect the car that's handling?
Yeah, definitely. These cars aren't that bad for aero wash because they've got a flat floor, so it sort of negates a little bit of that. But you do get some sort of aero wash. And aero wash is when you're buried up behind the car. The car in front it punches the hole through the air, so it makes your car less effective with its aero, with all the wings and everything. So that's what we talk about when we say aero wash. It just makes the car understeer a bit more. And just feels like there's less weight on the front of the car as a driver.
You don't want that through this part of the course, do you?
No, this part's all right. It's all flat, so it's pretty easy navigating in these cars. It's not like the old days when it was a real corner.
Of course, that was added back in the mid to late 80s when the Conrod Straight used to go all the way down to Murray's. It was installed for the World Touring Car Rounders. Now he pulls out to make the move and gets it done at the final turn. Tander responds as they come up pit straight. They'll go side by side here. Audi versus Mercedes with 8.5 minutes to go. They stay side by side through turn number 1. Van Gisbergen on the dirt.
Tander was very kind to him through turn 1, unlike himself.
Trying to use the side draft. Up Mountain Straight. Van Gisbergen will have the better line. Who is going to blink? Tander or Van Gisbergen? Into Griffins. Give it to SVG. That was cool.
That was cool. That was very good. That was unlike Garth to be so kind to him on the exit. Normally he would have shoved him off.
We know that the Audi is quick across the top. The question is there a place or a space where he can make the most of that advantage as he pursues Shane Van Gisbergen? A little breath there.
Was that a collar tug? You don't know.
Perhaps it was. The Prince is on the prowl, hoping that his teammate can get the job done, but he's actually made a bit of a gap. Already 7/10 across the top for Shane Van Gisbergen.
I'm pretty sure he'll check out now. He's gone.
Don't spoil the race.
I was going to say, don't spoil the story.
I'm just telling you how it rolls.
Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, Dave Reynolds. You'll learn.
Let's hope they've got too much pressure in the next 7 minutes and then you
That's better.
Commentary 101, always talk it up.
No, I'm talking it up. I'm just saying he's going to be hard to catch because he's obviously caught past him. It was actually
Let's sell the traffic.
Sell the traffic. It was actually 8 seconds out of the pits behind him and made that up and passed him. So.
There's a few more cars just ahead here now, including Paul Stokel, that's been in the 1-2-4 outing with Gary Higgin this weekend. And Mark Sini, Arthur Abraham's just ahead as well. So 6.5 minutes remaining. Traffic can still play a part in this first race of round 2 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge.
I mean, you've got to sit back and applaud this. To win 5 races in a row at the level of competition that Supercars is, and then to come here in different machinery and to be putting on a performance like this.
Let's not talk him up too much, Stubbsy. I've got to race him.
You got to tip your hat to this. This is
He's doing
a man at his
job.
absolute best, and I think we're privileged to sit here and see this today.
Not just that, he won the New Zealand Grand Prix at the start of the year from the pit lane.
Exactly.
He's absolutely setting the track on fire. Here's the replay, Rebellion replay down at the final turn. He just got that car pulled up.
Yeah, just got it pulled up, overshot the corner a little bit, which allowed Garth to do the switchback and a bit of afterpay, boys. I'm using that from now on.
Stick your hand.
Hey, I don't know why.
And lots of respect going through that first turn. It went on for at least a sector of this racetrack at Mount Panorama. And in the end, Shane Van Gisbergen getting the job done. Here's the reaction from Jeffrey Ibrahim.
Product placement.
Let's go to pit lane, Jess.
Just watching the replay, guys, and everyone's holding their breath watching it, but Shane just came over the radio to the team and said he's turning the aircon off now. Sorry, back on, because obviously it uses a little bit of horsepower when you're cruising down Conrod, but he's been given permission by the team to turn the air conditioning back on, which is a luxury in the Triple Eight garage, trust me.
The creature comforts of motor racing.
It's the only time you'll get to use it all season.
To be honest, I hardly notice when it's on. There's like...
In terms of performance or in terms of the cooling effect?
The cooling effect. I don't reckon it does much.
We've seen so much development over the years, haven't we, when it comes to keeping drivers cool. There was a point there where there was no ventilation in the cars.
No ventilation, I know. Sucks to be them back in those days.
Yeah.
It's actually very, very hot in these cars as well, but you know they're relatively easy to drive. You know, ABS traction control, but you know, they're not like supercars where you got to manhandle it and there's a gear stick and you got to heel and toe and everything. It's the supercars a bit more physical.
And it's warm. This
it's warm out there.
Warm for the start of April to be 26 degrees.
Amazing. Down to the final turn we go. Meantime, Mostert has gone ahead of Hobson. He's up into 4th position. In fact, there's about 3 cars by Schumacher. Here's Schumacher on screen, heading down Conrod Straight. He's holding on for 3rd position at this point in time.
Mostert, we see there come into the shot. He's not too far behind, only a couple of seconds back. So this is the challenge now for that final spot on the podium. Van Gisbergen and Tander are safe. Schumacher, can he hold on the trophy car? That would be a fantastic performance if he can, but Mostert is on a charge.
Another lap in. It's our 24th of this race, and no safety cars with a minute and a half to go. So when the time runs out, it'll be plus 1 lap. What do you think, boys? Mostert's on target here. Look at the time.
I think you'll get him.
I think you'll get him, yeah.
Yeah, he's had 2 wins already today in TCR land.
It's 3 seconds faster than him, so I'll hunt him down. He's going to have about 2 more laps to get it done.
Paul Stokell just ahead here in the KFC Audi car 124. So a couple of lap cars in between this. There is Schumacher going through, Stokell just behind. There's another guy. So much history for Paul Stokell, former Australian Drivers' Champion on 3 occasions. One of only 4 drivers to have done that in the history of the Australian Drivers' Championship.
You name it, he's driven it.
Yeah. He's on target for a big open wheel career. Overseas and had a dabble in the mid-90s. And then came back and drove for Barana in the glory days of Formula Holden and Formula Brabham.
What could make it a little bit more difficult for Chaz is, since it's an older style car, they might have a different restrictor in the engine, which will make it more powerful and harder to pass down the straight.
So
if that's the case.
Yeah. So much to these cars. As now Paul's out to make the move, so Stokell, using all his years of experiences, acknowledges that the faster cars are around and allows Mostert to have clean air at chasing Schumacher for 3rd outright.
It'd be great for Schumacher and his team. You hope for their sake that he hangs on, but gee, it's going to take one hell of a drive from here to hold off the Bathurst 1000 champion.
The racer in him was saying, no, I need to stay ahead here. The team will be saying, don't you bend this.
Yeah, don't stuff it up.
Tony Bates and the crew look on down. The Bostic Audi team downstairs, watching Mostert trying to get back on the podium after serving that penalty for the most minuscule amount of time in the pits, boys. It's a heartbreaking sport. At times, he pulls out for a look flash of the headlights from his Bostic Audi. And we're on the final lap, so 6.2 kilometres of racing left. It's still Van Gisbergen, nearly 5 seconds down the road from Tander. We'll keep an eye on this battle. We may have a change of position here on the final lap.
Mostert was on the inside, but the door has been shut by Schumacher. He has a look on the outside. That's all for show. No go up there.
He's doing the good things. He's doing the right things, blocking, making that car as wide as he can. Good on him.
Not a lot of room through here. Very narrow as we enter the cutting and make our way up through the park section. You're a brave man to stick it up the inside here.
Very brave, yes. Things can go horribly wrong for you if you get it wrong.
It could be Forrest's. More than likely, it's going to be into the chase.
No, it could be Forrest Hill, though. I'm going to guess that for a Chaz's move.
He's searching. Schumacher holding back. The boy from Bathurst is on target for a top 3 result. He'll pick up the win in his class today, while out in front, Van Gisbergen looking to set the fastest lap on the final lap of the race.
Cheeky, isn't he?
With the aircon on.
Yes. The guy's a freak.
Well done.
Here he is.
Covered it off.
And the final turn, undefeated in season 2021. In anything he drives, Van Gisbergen and Ibrahim win race number 1 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge. Some 5.5 seconds clear of Tander and Shaheen that will finish in second place, but the battle for third is far from done. Mostert tucked right behind the Kelso Electrical entry. Pulls out for the move. Will go side by side and gets it done in the DBA chase. Stokel just trying to join the party here for good measure. He's a lap down, but Mostert is going to make it back on the podium.
It's a phenomenal job. He actually didn't lose. Oh, that's a bit tricky. He actually didn't lose much, like out of that stop-go penalty, so he'd be happy with that.
Great recovery drive by Chaz Mostert. That's important. That's a good comeback, but it's one of those days where you wonder what could have been the celebrations for the 888 team. Victorious today, Shane Van Gisbergen over Garth Tander, and in third place, Chaz Mostert. The 3 big guns, the cream, rising to the top, as it so often does at the mountain.
Mark Griffith coming around to finish in 17th. And of course, the sole GT4 car in the field will pick up class honours. Went down 2 laps at the end of the race, but Van Gisbergen getting it done. Here's Hobson coming around to finish in 8th position after starting on the front row. So the Garth Walden prepared 96 Nissan finishes inside the top 10. Will be Quinn and Taylor in 9th and 10th position. That was a cool race.
Very cool. Very cool race.
I wish Chaz didn't get that pit lane drive-through penalty. Oh, that would have been an epic battle between Shane and Chaz at the end there.
But he's not tomorrow yet.
Yeah, no, there's always tomorrow. There's definitely tomorrow. I think they start off the front row.
So Tony Quinn crosses the line to win the amateur class there. So he will now be the overall leader in that class. That moves him ahead of Arthur Abraham. So that's a great result for Tony Quinn, who's had great pace all weekend. There are the celebrations. The 2 victors join in the lane. Congratulations all round. Shane Van Gisbergen, undefeated. Remarkable stuff.
Yeah, the guy is certainly on a tear in season 2021. It started here in October during the 1000, and today, Jeffrey Ibrahim picking up the win in race 1, the Fanatec GT World Challenge here at Mount Panorama. Nearly 6 seconds clear of Shaheen and Tander. Bates and Mostert. Schumacher gets home for 4th position ahead of the 2 Groves in 5th. Dietz and Wall completing the top 6 with Twigg, Hobson, Quinn and Taylor. The top 10 here today. Taylor, the only driver that really had an off during this race, boys.
Yeah, McPherson and Porter there in 11th place in the Lamborghini from Kelly. Abrahams, Bailey, Higgins, Stokel. Stokel getting involved and making sure he got some airtime for the KFC entry there at the end from Mark Chinney and Griffith rounding it out. Let's get down to our winners with Greg Rust.
They're just having the celebratory photo, and so they should. Prince Jeffrey, how good does that feel to win at the mountain?
To be honest, I never thought of this, to win with the King of the Mountain here. I'm out of words at the moment, to be honest. Yeah.
You played a part in that, so congratulations.
Thanks, mate. I tried my best.
Yeah, well done. Shane, for you, epic fight with the guy you won the 1000 with just a few months ago.
Oh, it was awesome. I braked a bit early to try and fox him to think of the crossover, then got back on the gas and went around the outside of him. So pretty awesome, but man, stoked for Prince Jeffrey here. Like, first time at the mountain in a car like this. It's so daunting, and done a great job all weekend, build up, keep straight, and then win your first ever race here. Pretty special, really cool.
Really, what a year you have had so far. Lots of fans asking via socials, how is the wing, how is the arm, how are you going? You got the 6 hour to cope with tomorrow too.
Once I'm in the car and the adrenaline's fine, I feel no pain, so it's cool. But yeah, another day tomorrow, try to do it again.
New Zealand Grand Prix, all sorts of success in 2021, and the story continues. Gentlemen, congratulations.
Thanks, mate.
What an impressive result here today in the first race. We'll squeeze in a quick break here at the High-Tech Oils Bathurst 6 hour. We'll get some more reaction from our first race, the GT World Challenge, right after this break. Time to look at the highlights of race number 1 in the Fanatec GT World Challenge here at Mount Panorama at Bathurst today. 60 minutes of intense racing, and it started with the Audis into turn number 1. Shame for the Nissan here, Stubbs.